Hello, everyone. So the speech today will be about IMP Metaverse Protocol, connection layer of the Metaverse. I'm going to start from a little bit telling about myself and what I do. So I'm into Polkadot for quite a while now, and my company is Supercolony. We've been famous in this ecosystem for doing things like fundamental things like Openbrush, PSP22, and creating the Wasm field and making Wasm a really workable thing. And now this is something we also want to do to the Metaverse, to the more broader Metaverse space. And fundamentally, we are a venture studio. Being a venture studio means building companies, creating companies. And so one of our companies, the name is Asylum, and Asylum is working in the Metaverse space. The problem we discovered while we are working on in the Metaverse space is a connection layer problem, connection layer of the Metaverse. What do I mean by that, and why does it matter? Before we go into that, let's firstly explore what we mean when we say Metaverse, okay? So for me, Metaverse is a virtual reality, a more and next immersive version of internet where you can live, shop, interact, have fun, and work. And when you look at the Metaverse that we have today, we can see a couple of problems with them, and we can see that what we currently have is not exactly aligned with the definition of the Metaverse. And I think yesterday, Bruno touched on a couple of those. And these are also things that we discovered as well. And so starting from the first and most interesting one, we see a lot of Metaverse projects, but none of them are real Metaverses, right? And the first and fundamental thing for a Metaverse to exist is a connection between all of those spaces. So it's an interoperability issue. It's an ability to have your digital item placed in one game and then placed in another game seamlessly with no additional code required out of the box. It also is about consistency. What I mean by consistency is where you can have your NFTs evaluated in one game and in another game by the same metric to not disrupt the balance inside the Metaverse. Actually, currently what we already have experience in some of the Metaverses, like Sandbox and Decentraland, is the disruption of this balance, even in the closed ecosystem. And that is why it's extremely important to think about consistency between those and put that in design. Things like game mechanics, NFTs or digital objects shouldn't just store how it looks like, definitely not images, right? They should include all needed properties in order to provide the balance inside the system and consistency. And the next would be, of course, nesting and multi-resource. And what we actually see today when we say NFTs, a lot of people associate it with images. And it's not surprising because even if you look at the standard, ERC 721 standard, NFT equals image, because inside the standard, you have this image property, like the property literally called image. And so what can you expect when it's inside the standard, right? And we see there are lots of efforts to change that, but the ecosystem itself, I'm not talking only about Polkadot, generally, the ecosystem lacks the common standard that wouldn't be associated with images. That is also the reason why there is so lack of trust to the NFTs. Lots of people associate it just with scam, or again with image, which isn't what NFT is supposed to be. NFT is a technical standard that can be used and that we are planning to use for digital objects in the metaverse. And so next thing is an ability for NFTs to include another NFTs, which works then like a Lego. And this is also extremely important to have, as in a real world. We have, for example, a table that consists of the top and the bottom. This could be as a separate NFTs. Or more practical example would be like a person. You have a person, and then person has a jacket and a hat. And the hat could be on one person or another person, and you should have the ability to seamlessly transfer those items. If they are all locked inside one NFTs, you obviously can't do that. And then the next thing is something called digital identity. So again, what we currently experience in all of the metaverses is that all of the games or metaverse spaces, they all have its own digital identities, right? Or when you log into a different metaverse, you have completely different identity, and they're not synchronized. And if we want to have a metaverse, that's also something that needs to be changed. As looking for a real life, if you're in a coffee shop or you're in a school, in all of those places you have same identity. And this is what should be in the metaverse as well. And so the last item, and probably the most important one, is the economy item. Economy, right? What we currently see, and that's not only about metaverse projects, it's generally about the internet space. We don't see a lot of connectivity between those spaces, right? They're all separate and not very much connected, at least not out of the box. And why that's important? Because as we already could have seen from history, every time the economy is opened, for example, when we built roads to India and traders were going through the roads and bringing products, the economy has grown. This is exactly the same for a digital world. We need those roads, and we need them compatible out of the box. So, to summarize the point, why does it matter to have a basic layer? I want to compare it to the internet. In my opinion, metaverse is very similar to the internet in that context. We can enjoy the internet seamlessly because there is no problem of connection in the internet. And why? Because everyone uses the same TCP/IP protocol. And that is same about the metaverse. What we see now is people focusing on the content, where in reality, we would like to firstly have the fundamental, and then we can build content on top of it. Without the fundament, there will be no ability for content to really coexist with each other. So, IMP protocol. Solution. We see IMP protocol as a combination of 6 items. It's still in development. And it's actually the first conference where I am talking about the IMP protocol. It's yet in the early stages, but already has gotten an approval of Web3 Foundation. And we are moving it to the production version pretty soon. Important to note that we believe this protocol shouldn't be as part of one ecosystem or another, or one company or another. It should be driven by community and approved by the community. And so that's why we are working now to get connections and engage a lot of people into the process. And we're well aware this initiative is not only the one, and we are not only the ones that understand the importance of the problem. So we would like to unite people who also have this understanding and get into those communities and work together to resolve the problem. And so, in our opinion, how we see the IMP protocol. IMP means Interoperability Metaverse Protocol. So first thing is NFT, or we call it Digital Objects Provider. We'd like to call it digital objects, as we think NFT is technology, and technology should be kept like NFT is used a lot right now in the for users, but we don't use for users words like TCP or IP. Our users are not very much aware of TCP, and we also think it should be the same about NFT. So digital objects. First thing, game mechanics as part of the NFT standards. The same that I was mentioning before. To NFT not only includes the visuals, the object, but also include game mechanics inside of it, and that should provide the balance. Then we've come with an abstraction. This is an abstraction of the digital item protocol. If you look at the right, you see a template. So in a traditional NFT world, we had an abstraction called collection. Template is somewhere similar to collection, but not, because template is like it's like a template of your NFT when you put your properties, and then you mint an item. An item means an NFT based on that template. So having one template, you can mint as many items as you need. And then you have an instruction called interpretation. Interpretation means that, like the problem in you have many different games, and you can argue that in different games the same sort could have like different visual look, and how we can interoperability then. Yeah, so that's why one template could have different interpretation. Like in one game, it could look one way, and in another game, it will look another way. And so a template creator can do multiple interpretations. And then the thing called tags. Tags is also an abstraction that we have created in order to make games understand items out of the box. So tag is a language, like an association that you put to an item to help game understand how it should visualize it, and whether it supports it or not. And the second thing would be DAO. And why we think DAO is important and should be part of the protocol is because we believe that DAO is a necessary foundation for this to exist, because people need to be engaged into the metaverse in order to be like really participative and in order to have this real life experience. If you don't allow users to participate inside the metaverse, they wouldn't get this feeling of really being part of. That's why I think it's extremely important to include DAO inside. And so in our scenario, DAO will govern all of those abstractions. And for example, DAO will govern how an interpretation is added, and then an individual could accept or not accept like a different interpretation. You will have that ability. The other important thing is the history of a digital object. So like in real life, when you have your sword or your head and you're coming through life, that the head changes, right? And same should apply to the NFTs. If you play in a game and your sword has grown in its capability, like it had 3 points and now it has 5 points, that is represented on chain, and that is with you, that is owned by you because it's on chain. nobody could take that from you. And if it's interoperable, it's also in a dozen of other games. So if one game accidentally stops working or the project is closed, that's not a problem, because your same sort is a dozen of other games. And it's also DAO governed, so it's not like a template creator could just in a one moment change everything, and one day your sword looks like this, and the other day it looks like that. Isn't possible. So this is an image that shows the implementation of the protocol. On the right hand, you see a protocol itself, and on the left, you see an implementation of it. This is the case for Asylum. The things that were mentioned before, like you have a digital protocol, digital objects protocol, DAO protocol, and so on. And on the left hand, you have a working product, because obviously internet doesn't exist with only on protocol layer. Internet also has internet providers, and this is also the case for Metaverse. We need to have one protocol, and then we need to have a provider. And this is also the beauty, because as in internet we can have multiple providers, but they will be interoperable with each other out of the box if they use the same protocol. So we are not closing the possibility to define to create as many providers as is needed, and they have the interoperability between themselves and between spaces inside them. Yeah, so this is my Twitter and Telegram. Contact me, reach out to me if you're interested or if you have any questions. Thank you, guys.